Hello? Oh, hello. What the hell? Why is my music playing? Every time I use Apple Music, I'm like, oh, I'm changing to Spotify. New music. Oh, there's a new version. Nice. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So, yeah. So yesterday I got a bit stuck again because I wasn't sure how we wanted to handle how we were gonna handle the REST calls. Because to be able to run a VM, you have to call a server to get a session. But you also have to call a server if we want to enable you to like create and like even just getting a sandbox. You need to do that from the server. So let's see. So there needs to be an API here. And I wasn't sure how to do this. Like, where do we actually put that? So let's just call it Sandpack. And the point is that you can do like template here, and then you can say like node. But long story short, we're just gonna add a property called API here. And then you can, and this can later become like an actual object where you can like create sandbox if you want to do other things. But for now, it's just going to be a string. And that's going to make the internals of Sandpack React to start calling these endpoints when it needs to. Let's see. So that's one thing. So, and there's like, oh, I forgot to put on the, it felt a little bit weird down here. I need my nano leaves. So one thing, like when do you actually need to create a sandbox? So that would be when, you, for example, okay, let's talk through those scenarios. So if you start with like a template of React in the browser and it's like completely local, and then you want to actually persist that. Maybe you even want an experience where so the point is like you can, yeah. The challenge I'm having is like ownership. Who's responsible for these different APIs? So creating a sandbox, you could argue that's something that's not Sandpack React's responsibility. That's something you would explicitly do outside of the Sandpack React experience. While like forking a sandbox, that will be something that Sandpack React has to take care of, because you might be opening a sandbox you don't have access to for whatever reason. And then we automatically fork that when you make a change. But that could also be like something that's actually implemented on top of Sandpack React. So my point is, I don't know exactly. Yeah. So there are a lot of things that's easily arguable should not be part of Sandpack React. But then actually starting a VM, that has to be part of Sandpack React, I think. Well, you could argue that's not part of it either, because the only thing it really needs is a session. Or if you do like sandbox, and this would normally be like just an ID, but you could also give it like a session. But the problem then is like, if you give it an ID, and that ID is a dev box, Sandpack React needs to start the session. I thought I had this clear. So it makes it easier to create an accessible experience by just having this API here. But you could also say, no, we shouldn't have API. We should just have like certain hooks, right? And these hooks are like connect VM, for example. And then it's up to you how you want to make that connection available. And then you would have fork sandbox. You would have, well, get sandbox. And the point is like, do you have, and these hooks, you don't have to have them. So if you just want to do like a template thing, you don't need these hooks, actually. So these are very much like API hooks. And they're only necessary if you actually only pass like an ID thing. But then you could also like argue just having a string for the API, and then like we could simplify it a lot. But I'm not sure if that's a good idea. And I'm not even sure to call it API hooks. Like this is, like I would want to call it like persistence. Like you could even call them actions, operations. I'm not sure what to call this. And the problem is the connect VM thing. Like everything else is about persistence except connect VM. That's not about persistence. That's just about connecting to a VM. And the point is, like if you open a template with a VM, you can't do anything about that template. You have to fork to be able to make changes to it. And that's why we want to do this fork sandbox thing. Or for any other reason, you've loaded something you can't make changes to, and you would have like an auto fork kind of thing, which would by default be true. But I don't know what this is. I can't think of like a clear idea of what this actually is. And what abstraction level should it be? Because I was also exploring like CSP API, and then Sandpack could have like create API middleware like this on the server. And then you would have connect VM, create sandbox, and you would just put that middleware on your server, and then it would just seamlessly work. And you would choose how to, you could have your custom persistence. You could throw an error on connect VM if you didn't want to do VMs. Or you can use the CodeSandbox SDK to enable these things. But then you have the challenge here. It's like, oh, but then we're going to use fetch internally. Maybe you don't want to use fetch. Maybe you want to use something else. So then it's like, oh, we have to say endpoint, CSP, API, whatever, fetch, and then you can have like a custom fetch. Maybe you want to include some headers, like a cookie or whatever. But yeah, I think it makes most sense to actually just have API. But the problem doing that is then we can't do like local storage or other types of persistence. So you could also argue you can do a lower level thing where you kind of have the hooks, right? And then you choose what you want to do. Do you want to talk to a server? Do you want to do local storage? Like, what do you actually want to do? And I think that's more correct. I guess I worry if API is too high level. And then you could think of it differently. Like, you could think about it as environment options. Sorry if this is very small. Environment options, and then you could say, okay, for a VM, then you have connect VM, right? This is specific to a VM. But for everything else, like for any other sandbox, like for all the environments, you have like create sandbox, fetch sandbox, and so on and so on. But they're all bound to some external source, right? It's not strictly persistence. It's just the sandboxes live somewhere else, and you kind of want to put them together. And even this connect VM is like, it's very interesting because it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to use the SDK. Like, what you could rather have here, it's like you could have like a custom environment, and if you load up custom, it means that or you wouldn't even do that. You would kind of just do like template. So the templates are actually like this object of environment static, for example, environment. But you could have like just a Sandpack environment here. That would also be possible. And that means you can create your own environment because the API is so simple. Like, you just have a file system that you need to implement, and then you have this create preview you need to implement, and then Sandpack can handle it. But maybe that's too low level again. Like, it's really, really tricky to get this thing right. Yeah. I do wonder if this is what we want, though. So you could argue, like, this is the most accessible thing. This is like just to create like a connection to CodeSandbox itself. But then you can also argue, why even have create API middleware? Then you could have SDK create middleware or something. And then it would, so this would be the actual CodeSandbox SDK, and it would be responsible for creating the middleware. But then you have a dependency between Sandpack React and the SDK. So if something changes in the SDK, you're gonna have a tricky thing to balance here. It's harder to maintain. So that's what I like about this one, is that we're not bound to the SDK, but it's very easy to integrate with SDK, and you can integrate it with your own custom databases and stuff. That's kind of the idea here. But I kind of want to say, not API hooks, but, and we can't call it events either, because they aren't strictly events. They are blocking things. But you know, I think we should do this first at least. So you have like connect or start VM. Or it's really connect VM. Connect Sandbox. Or I guess start VM. Then you have create sandbox. You have fork sandbox. You have create file. You have delete file. I guess you also have move. Yeah, create directory. Delete directory. And then you have moving them. So if we did this, then we would have the freedom to do whatever we need to do, and everyone could build stuff with this. Like that could be used with any kind of persistence, it being from a server, it being local, it doesn't matter. And then we're gonna like more manually implement the endpoints in the API and so on and so on. But the point is that now Sandpack React, it will be calling these methods if they are available. Now, yeah, no, I think that's the best abstraction for now. The only thing that's a little bit weird is that we have like start VM. And if you're not using VMs, it's kind of weird to have it, but you could throw an error there, right? Because you don't support it. Or you could do a mix, right? Maybe you want to use VMs from CodeSandbox, but you want to have your own like local browser sandboxes or whatever. I don't know. The point is that there's absolutely no restrictions here now. So it allows us to explore and not be make decisions too early. But I'm not sure if it should be called API. Like, because API means like API, we kind of when we say API, we typically talk about like server endpoints, but that's not true. API is any so these hooks are like very specific to, maybe we should just call them sandbox. Maybe we should just call them hooks. So they are like, or interceptors or something, right? Because that's what they are. Let's call them hooks for now. So hooks are basically ways for you to hook into they are interceptors. Yeah, whatever. Maybe we shouldn't call them hooks because we're in a React context. So they are interceptors. That's more technically correct to say, at least. And then, but then are there other kinds of interceptors? I guess not. Well, there are more stuff here, like moving a folder or moving a file, but are there only like file related things? I'm just not sure we're gonna call them. It would be nice to call them events, but the point is that events aren't blocking. They are just like, oh, something happened and you want to do something. It doesn't block the... Maybe we should call them actions. Yeah, maybe we should call them actions. Okay, let's just call them that for now. But anyways, now we have what we need to do whatever we need to do. So now you can have a template of React. And if you've configured like create sandbox and you have like fork on save or something, or I guess it would be like fork strategy maybe, because you might have different on save. So whenever you save something, we're gonna fork it. But if you have like just a local template, there's nothing to actually fork in terms of persistence. So then we have to create a sandbox. Well, I guess we could fork. No, because you might create your own. Yeah. So we need to create a sandbox. But are there like other ways of forking? Like, I think it's enough with like auto fork, and then auto fork is by default true. So whenever you save something, you don't have, which you have read access to. We're gonna fork for you. I'm just thinking about like if you have a local template, you might want an experience like just a playground, like you have an example, and in that case you don't actually want to go and fork anything. But that means that the template isn't read-only. So it's kind of like this combination of read-only and like auto fork won't happen unless you do read-only or you have a VM. Like what decides if it's read-only or not? Like, I guess that's a bigger thing. That's kind of the big breaking thing here. It's like you're used to adding these templates and you're always safely in a local setup. which is very, very limited, but it's at least it's predictable in terms of behavior. There is no way you can like fork off anything. You're just giving like some static files and you can manipulate them. If you refresh, it's all gone. No, I think you have to do this. So if you actually set auto fork, we're gonna create a seamless forking experience for you. And we will be calling these actions. Now the thing is that you're not getting help from TypeScript here, which also is annoying to me. Because if you, for example, choose because it's based on the template. That's the thing. It's like the template decides really how this is gonna work. So if you do like environment static here, you can have files. If you choose something else, like you choose, and here you could say like, here it would make sense to do like auto fork. Or should auto fork be if you have actions, then we're gonna fork. Ugh. Yeah, so maybe that's better. So instead of having these options, you have these actions that's gonna happen. So whenever you save the first time, we're gonna call fork sandbox or create sandbox. And if you just throw an error there, or like you will have the actual sandbox here. God, that's also a thing. Like now I've hard coded static as a template here. So I know it's a static sandbox, but I might just have like sandbox equals whatever ID, and I have no idea what template it is. I can only get that information here. But what I could do is if I have all the freedom in the world here to do and another thing is how would I then handle I thought I had this figured out. God damn it. I'm a little bit stressed because I really want to get to a point to like this is the thing taking on these kinds of projects, especially when there is this like sense of, oh, can't you just add VMs to this? And then diving into it and having very strong opinions about it's not that easy. And then you kind of have to prove your point, right? So I'm making all these changes now, which I know they are good changes and it's going to enable a lot of things. But it takes time, and now it's like Easter vacation. And I have to admit it's stressing me out. Normally I wouldn't be that stressed about spending so much time figuring out the right decisions to make. But now I am a little bit stressed, I have to admit. Because these actions can't just throw an error if you don't want to do something. Because they should actually throw errors if they should do something, but they aren't able to do it. That should throw an error. So they would have to be able to like return false or something. Or no op, which would be like a special error type. Which is weird. Yeah, I'm having a really hard time with like template equals stat. Like, what does this mean? How does the options and everything behave? There are so fundamentally different behaviors doing these two things. Because with a template, you will be, well, you can even add templates. And if we say VM here, like these three have so different behaviors. The sandbox ID, we're going to infer from the sandbox what we need to do. Should we run the static environment? Should we run the bundler environment? Should we connect to a VM? It depends on the state of the sandbox. And then we have something like static, which is completely local. Or like, and if you do this, then we have to have these things to keep that thing up to date. Given that it's an actual sandbox, a browser sandbox, if it's a VM, we don't need these. Well, if it's a VM, we only need this one, but we don't need these ones. Except if you're opening something you don't have access to, then we need this one, but we don't need the other ones. Right? This is the thing. This is exactly what I mean. And then if we jump to this one, if it's static, well, you don't need this one. And maybe you don't need any of these ones because you just want it to be local. Or maybe you do want these ones, but you don't want to start a fork when you save. You want to have your own button to start a fork. So you want to manually handle that. But creating a file, that's something you want to happen when you actually create a file from Sandpack React, right? And then you have a template that's a VM. But that template is like a read-only template. So you need start VM, but you also need to fork that sandbox if you save to be able to do anything. Well, the static template, you can do something without actually forking it. So it's just incredibly inconsistent behavior. But at the same time, we can't have like different components here because you don't know necessarily what, or maybe that's kind of the big shift. Is like, are you going to load up a template or are you loading up a sandbox ID? Because if you're loading up a sandbox ID, you have to have these actions. Yeah, there's also get sandbox. Like, you have to have these actions or it doesn't make any sense to fire up. That's interesting. So you could, okay. But again, if you, so let's, Sandpack Sandbox. And it's just the name Sandpack bothers me now because Sandpack is actually the name of the bundler. But then the bundler became a preview and then a preview became this library. But I think I'll just have to settle with Sandpack being this higher level abstraction and not being the actual bundler. But it's called Sandpack React, which indicates that, yeah. But Sandpack is now multiple environments. It's more like coding playgrounds, kind of. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so you could have like Sandpack template, and then that's the templating behavior, which doesn't support. Well, the tricky thing is that, so to add to the complexity of this, if you start out with template static and we allow you to create a sandbox from it, we want to stay in the same instance of Sandpack, right? We don't want to, like, if you have a key on Sandpack here, which is like the template name or the sandbox ID, we don't want to, when you actually get the sandbox ID from create sandbox, we don't want to reload the whole thing. We just want to continue. So they have to be, it has to seamlessly move between these things. And that's gonna be even trickier, because if you start on, for example, just a playground page, well, I guess it's not necessarily trickier. No, I guess that's fine. But it's something that you have to take care of. Is like, you start out with template static, for example, and then you save, and we create a sandbox, and we give the ID back, and you'll update the URL, right? But that URL shouldn't trigger a new Sandpack. It should just be like reflecting a new state. But if you're using Next.js, for example, making that URL change, I believe that will actually force a reconciliation in React. And then you're going to pick up on a param, right? It's probably going to remount this thing, which is exactly what you don't want. There's so much stuff to consider here. Like, it was much easier, like, when you actually build the product, because then you make all these, you know, the environment you're building it in, so it's so much easier to make all these decisions. But what I'm wondering is that, are we putting too much stuff into Sandpack? Maybe we shouldn't have any of this stuff. Maybe we shouldn't have any of this stuff. So you don't pass in a sandbox ID. What you do is you pass in an actual sandbox, right? So this is what I'm wondering. It's like, what if there's a sandbox property, and either you pass in an actual sandbox, so you gotten a sandbox from the API, it doesn't matter how you got it, and that it only has, like, there's just a type there, it's the sandbox type, and it has like certain dependencies, it has a template, it has a, is it a cloud sandbox, is it not a cloud sandbox, and then that's how you fire it up. You don't do it by references. You have to pass the actual thing that you're going to run. So either you pass a sandbox, or you could pass like a sandbox session, which will be like a VM session, and that makes it connect to that VM session. Or you could choose like some kind of template, like static template. And now we kind of and now you can have like events for the different things. So we don't really need start VM anymore. But you would have something like on fork. Not on fork, but like on save, sorry. On create file. And you would do the things. You would persist it, but it wouldn't be blocking. So if something went wrong trying to create that file, you would kind of have to give an error. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's explore this. There is no template. Like, it's just called Sandbox. And that can be like under the hood here. Like, you can still like do React or whatever. Like, there can be string templates, like shortcuts. That's fine. But now it's called Sandbox. It's not called template. But you have a sandbox that can be of type yeah, so it can be of type template, and you can choose environment, blah blah blah, or it can be type sandbox, so which just have data. This is the data of the sandbox. Or it can be type VM session, where you have a session, right? And then Sandpack React is able to infer from this what it's going to do about it. But there's no APIs here. There's no persistence, no APIs, nothing. And that means that you could even like load up a public sandbox, and you could use that as a template, right? So you don't have any further persistence or anything. You're just loading in a sandbox that you built on CodeSandbox, for example. And that just becomes the template. Yeah, that's much more flexible. Okay, this is starting to look like something. And then whenever you have these events, that event is going to include like the actual sandbox information. But the question then is forking. That's the biggest one, because that, to make a seamless forking experience, we kind of have to. Okay, so what's interesting about that is, so if you were going to create a seamless forking experience, so if you started out with a sandbox, and then you have logic in using Sandpack React, you're creating a service, and you want to create a forking behavior. So when someone's trying to save something, you can check the event for whatever, and kind of keep track of, is this your first save? If it is, we're gonna go and we're gonna like create a copy in our database, or we're gonna call the fork endpoint on CodeSandbox to fork that sandbox. And then we're gonna continue writing to that new ID. So every time you like on write file, we're gonna write that change to like, but this is very low level. So you can get into situations where you're trying to save a file, and then maybe you quickly save again, so it triggers again while it's forking, for example. Like, you have to handle a lot of stuff for that to properly work, which is not ideal. Like, we're exposing a lot of complexity. And it's more like a sync than an actual like blocking behavior. So if we had not events here, but like actions, we could actually inside React Sandpack, when you actually try to write a file, we can like make this write file thing here part of that promise. And we would indicate even in the UI like a spinner. But if it's just events, we're just going to fire it off. And then if something goes wrong, well, you're out of sync. And you have to figure out how to deal with that. I guess to some extent you have to figure out how to deal with it. Yeah. But okay, so I like this part. And then, okay, again, so what if you had logic that checked? So on the event, you actually have the sandbox and you could check. Yeah, we could even have like its first save or something. Well, it wouldn't be on save. It would be on write file. Yeah, but that's also interesting. It's not necessarily on write file. It can be on create file. It can be on move folder. Like it could be any kind of interaction that requires a fork. So what we could do is that we could have on fork where we trigger that, like internally we track if like on should fork or something. We internally track, did you write the file? Did you move something? What kind of interaction did the user make that could require a fork, right? So maybe we shouldn't even call it, we could call it on change or something, on first change, something like that. Yeah, but again, then you would have to go and first fork, and then maybe, so on first change triggers, and then immediately after on write file triggers. But on first change hasn't like forked yet. So now you have to wait for that fork to happen before you can run the on write file. Okay, again, I like this one. I think we should replace template with sandbox so that we can load other things than templates, including templates. That makes sense. But then it's this stuff. We need to figure out this stuff. What should we do? What should we do? So what you need to be able to know when changes happens so that you can choose to persist it. There's two things you need to do. You need to be able to persist and you need to be able to fork. Those are the two things you need to be able to do. And we should definitely tell you when a fork is needed. And then you need to figure out, you have to perform that fork. Okay, let's just throw actions back in here. So we have fork, write file, create file. So if we have actions and we have fork, and fork is going to trigger whenever yeah, you make any change, like you write file or create file or whatever you do. We're going to call fork first, and that's going to be a blocking call so that you are able to perform that fork, and then we'll do the write file after that. If it throws an error, it's actually going to show a proper error in Sandpack, React, and everything. So we're going to be handling that for you. That's a good thing. The thing that's not quite good here is that we are kind of forcing... Okay, but what's interesting about this is fork could return a boolean of true or false. So we are not tracking, since we're not actually performing any API calls within Sandpack, it's up to you to keep track of, okay, what's the current sandbox we're referencing here? So for could simply be an action that you run, which is gonna create like a sandbox. And then you're creating that sandbox, you have like an outer reference to that sandbox. So when you do write file the next time, it's not because we have an internal ID. We don't have any internal IDs. We just have code, right? And it's the external part that needs to, that has the context of what that code means. I like that. So Sandpack doesn't have any context of, did someone just dislike this? That's the first dislike I've ever had. Someone put a thumbs down. Like, how can you put a thumbs down on someone sharing work? Like, I'm not here for entertainment. Oh my god. Ah, that's discouraging. Where was I? Yeah, so you're not passing in any IDs or anything here. You're just passing in what's needed to display the code in Sandpack and display the preview. And then it's the outer context of Sandpack that knows what that actually means. Like, which ID is it bound to, blah, blah, blah. So when you say sandbox here, yeah, maybe it doesn't even have to be sandbox. It could even be template. Still, so even if you load up, okay, this is interesting. So even if you load up a sandbox, you could still use template. Well, but it isn't a template. Oh my god. So the only thing Sandpack is interested in is really the files. It doesn't care about anything else. It just happens that if it's a VM, it needs to connect to that VM to get the files. And then it has its own internal file system, which by default is just an in-memory file system. But with a VM, the file system is on the VM. And then what we're trying to shove on top of this is the ability to persist the files. But for a VM, you don't have to persist the files because they are on the VM. But if you have the in-memory file system, you need to be able to sync that with like some external persistence. And that's the thing that breaks my brain. It's like the VM is so different than this other stuff. And then if you're connected to a VM and you need to fork, it's not enough to just fork it. Like, unlike a sandbox, which you could just like create a sandbox here, and then whenever you write or create a file or whatever, you just have a different ID that you reference because you just forked it. That's like super, super simple. But if you have a VM and you need to fork that, then it's not enough to just return true or false, because you have to actually connect to that other VM. And the only way you can connect to that other VM is if you actually return the new session. But that's only true for a VM. And then if it's a VM and you do write file, create file, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it doesn't line up for me. This really sucks. I just get this like eerie feeling that we're doing something wrong with this abstraction. It's almost like it's reverse somehow. Like, it shouldn't be Sandpack that connects to a VM. It should be Sandpack hooking into. So it's almost like, okay, Sandpack has its internal state, but it shouldn't have that. It should hook into some external state. So for example, it shouldn't have its internal, how should I put that? Like, yeah, it shouldn't have its internal file system. It should rather hook into an existing file system. Yeah, no. What are we gonna do about this? Like, is it fine that you have to define these things, but you can't do anything about them? When it's a VM? And if you fork, you need to return a new session if it's an actual VM, but if it's not a VM, you don't have to return a new session. Or maybe it should have an internal reference. So, okay. Again, let's try again. So you have a sandbox. That sandbox can be a type of template, which means that it just has some files, right? So there's no like reference to any persistence or anything. But if you go and fork that, you need to return a sandbox, right? So, and when you return that sandbox, it changes into an actual sandbox with the data you return from the fork. So when you write file here, you get the sandbox and you get the path and you get the content. So you don't have to keep like an external reference. You can say sandbox.id here. Yeah, or like, sorry, you have a sandbox.type. So this can still be a template if you didn't fork it. So if you return like, I don't know, false here or null or whatever, false, it will never fork. And then you might have a write file for a template. Yeah. And then, yeah. So if you start out with a template, you return an actual sandbox, then these write files, create files, they will be of type sandbox, and you can actually just call the persistence and it will be blocking. And if it's a VM or VM session or whatever, it's gonna have a session. Yeah, wait a minute. So this fork should return the same type as this thing. So this is like a sandbox that has like a type of sandbox template, whatever. And then what you return from fork needs to also be a sandbox or null. So these types are consistent. That makes a lot of sense. Because then you can start with the sandbox and then you can move to a different sandbox whenever you're forking. So that means if I start with a VM session here, a VM sandbox, which is just a session, then I can fork that and I can return the new session, which causes a seamless transition into that new VM, which is actually really cool. And then whenever I do write file, create file, I can still just look at the sandbox type. So if it's a VM session, I'm actually not going to do anything about it. Yeah. Okay. I like that. We're getting closer. I'm so discouraged by that thumbs down. God damn it. Who the fuck had that thumbs down? It's so not nice. Like when someone just sits on the stream and shares their work, you don't go in and just give them a thumbs down. God damn it. Let's see. Okay. So what we're gonna do, I think we nailed it. I think this is how it needs to work. Because now it's low level enough that you have full freedom on how you want to deal with this. Like you can implement like local storage persistence, your own database persistence. You can do absolutely whatever you want. The thing you won't be able to do on your own is actually having these VM sessions. But that's fine. Or you can hook it up to the full CodeSandbox API, and then we'll do all the persistence and everything. But this is gonna work, and it's consistent. You just have a type of a sandbox, and when you call fork, which we will trigger internally based on interactions, you can choose to return a new sandbox, and then the session just continues. And you'll always have a reference to what is the existing sandbox when you make changes to it. So then you can have a blocking change, ability to throw an error if something goes wrong, and so on and so on. That's perfect. And again, we can still just have like a string reference here, but that's just going to point to an internal type. Yes. Okay, this is it. So what we're going to do two things. We're going to define these sandboxes, and and then we're also going to define the different environment types. So Sandpack client, Sandpack environments. Yeah, and we're going to look at the bundler shortly. So we load environment, and then we have end type. Where's end type coming from? Okay, so we need to do Sandpack environment. So this is gonna be should we because these are gonna be options. Sandpack environment options. Yeah, we're gonna do this, and this is gonna be static, and we're gonna have bundler here. Yes. And we're gonna look at, did we have, no, we didn't have any options yet, but we're gonna have them. Yeah, whatever. So here we're gonna have Sandpack environment options, and then we're gonna say T extends key of Sandpack environment options type, and then options will be Sandpack environment options. Yeah. Are all of them optional? Let's imagine they are. Okay, so then we're going to do that, and then we're going to pass in options. And these options are, oh yes, Sandpack static environment options. Okay, cool. So we're gonna, we're gonna put that in the type instead. So this will be Sandpack static environment options. And then we're gonna have Sandpack bundler environment options. Do we have that here? Yeah, we have it. Why didn't it pop up? Oh, there we go. Cool. So now this is typed correctly, and we can also map those types into let's see. Where are you, Sandpack React? Sandpack provider. So we have these Sandpack provider props now, but we're gonna change this. So this was like some internal option stuff, visible files. There's so much stuff here. So some of these are gonna be specific to environments, and we need to handle that. How are we gonna resolve this? So we're gonna have, I think we can still have options, but we also need environment options. Yeah, let's see. Maybe we can just put that in here. Environment options. Yeah, let's do that. And then we can Sandpack environment. Oh, I don't think I'm exposing it. Export Sandpack environment options. Oh yeah, it's giving errors, but these are just warnings, right? I can still point to, yeah. So we're gonna have environment options, and then we're gonna start like moving stuff away from this one into the actual specific environment it relates to. So even these ones, I guess those are the first ones. Why do we have classes here as well? Okay, anyways. Cool. What's our next step now? So we have these options. We can define them. And yeah, so I think we're going to continue trying to get the bundler running. Yes, we are going to do that. Yeah, and this is, oh, we had duplicates of this one. So you're going to get that from index. Okay, cool. And it creates, yeah, okay. So experimental, so we have team ID and we have experimental enable service worker and the service worker ID. We're going to move those into the actual environment options. So if we go and find Sandpack provider props, options. So that would be these two. Yeah, and even external resources, like those are actually part. Let's just start moving stuff. Bundler URL. We're just gonna add what we know first. And then I think there's like a team ID. Where is team ID? Team ID. What's this defined on? Oh, so that's not passed in as an option. That's just a state. But you have to pass it as an option, right? Oh, it's directly on the Sandpack props. Yeah, but we're gonna move that thing to the actual environment now. Okay, interesting. So let's see here. So we don't need to add these two things, but we need these two. So now we have those options available to us. So when we go in here, we have these options now. Why don't we have, does not exist, experimental stable service worker ID? Oh. Stable. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, this is great. So now we have create bundler URL. So we have one thing. Oops. Yeah, I don't think we need this one. Bundler preview, close others. So let's open up Sandpack client again. Which is runtime. Okay, so we got through create bundler URL. And now there's a service worker handshake. Let's see, what were we doing? Okay, and then we have bundler state. So what we're gonna do for bundler state is that we're gonna use, oh, sorry, that's something else. What is bundler state? Entry, transpiled modules. Okay, we probably need that still. Okay, let's move that in here. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need like some utils and probably some types. And that is transpile module source. Okay, we're just gonna keep moving things over. And the reason I'm like doing this is because I have no idea what these things are. So this is just a chance for me to actually look at the thing. So this needed module source module. What's a module source? Okay, that's a module source. And then we need module. Cool. Okay, nice. So now we have those things. And let's add this bundler state. Seems to be important. I don't think if that's exposed, I think we're doing something wrong. So let's make it private, because we're going to use this status for our actual public state. Okay, so now we have bundler state, and that's going to be, oops, sorry. Then we have errors. So what are these errors? They are Sandpack error. It's probably here somewhere. Sandpack error. Okay. So I guess we have some private errors. What was it? Sandpack error. Yeah, I guess we wanted to instantiate it here. I think I can, yeah, we can drop doing that. We don't have to do this either. Selector, we don't have that anymore. Then we have the subscription stuff. We don't have that anymore. iframe protocol. Oh, interesting. Okay, but I think we can just copy that one. Yeah, and also this thing and mime. Like we need, this is the kind of stuff I don't want to implement again. I'm actually not sure what it does. I guess it's like, yeah, talking to the iframe. That's fine. And then, so we're gonna have an iframe protocol. The question is like, here we kind of have unsubscribe channel listener. Oh yeah, but I'm gonna do that a little bit differently. I rather have like this disposer. So we're just gonna register. But this is gonna be private as well. Oh, why did it say JS? Why is it JS? That's weird. Why did you choose to say J? Why does it say JS on everything? Who did that? Was it Copilot? That's weird. Does these other things have? No. So this needs to be from here. Oh, then we have Sandpack message. I do think we have. Where's Sam? I think we had a Sandpack message. Maybe we don't. No. Okay, so we're gonna move some more types over. Let's see. iframe protocol needs listener function, Sandpack message, and unsubscribe function. And I think it actually got that stuff from here. Sandpack message. Yeah, look at this. So here we've been like calling VM message a Sandpack message, like and it is like either runtime message or VM message. Like these are so different. So I think, okay, so Sandpack runtime message. This is the thing we actually want, base Sandpack message. This is the actual messages coming from Sandpack. Okay, so let's just copy that first. Did I have the types here? Types. So we need Sandpack message console, Sandpack test message. We need modules. I think we need everything, but I just want to have like a brief look at them. So we had like modules. Let's copy modules over. I'm a little bit confused by all the things I have open here. I don't need the iframe pro. Do I? Types. That's Sandpack. Where's module? Yeah, then we have, I guess we can put that down here. Yeah, and we have, sorry, Sandpack message. What did I do? Yeah, so this is gonna be Sandpack message. And then we need to find, oh, sorry. That's base message. It's the, I keep jumping into the wrong file. Did I add Sandpack message here? Yeah, here we go. This should be Sandpack message. And then we have base message. We need client status. What's client status? Interesting. There we go. These two files, those are the ones I'm gonna flip between. So there's a client status there. And then what else are we missing? Sandpack error message. And that needs the stack frame. That's somewhere. Error stack frame. Where's that coming from? Error stack frame. What else are we missing? Sandpack template, Sandpack React DevTools mode, Sandpack log level, npm registry. Sandpack template. So we're gonna remove VM from that. Let's see, we just have to keep adding stuff here. Remove VM. So we don't actually have Node or Next.js or, so this is all just squished together, right? Currently. And there's only certain templates that's actually supported by the actual bundler. So we don't have Node, Next.js. I guess we have not Vue CLI. I'm actually not sure what templates are actually supported by the bundler. So we kind of have to figure that out, I guess. I'm not sure if even Svelte, well, I guess Svelte works. Yeah, let's just have them here, and then at least I know Node and VM isn't supported by the actual bundler. Let's see. And then we have React DevTools mode. What's that? Oh, that's also going to be interesting. And then we have Sandpack log level. Oops. Sandpack log level. Then we have npm registry. which is also specific to the bundler. Cool. Where are we? No. What else did we miss? Sandpack message console methods. What's that? Sandpack message console methods. Okay. Let's move them over. Sandbox test message. OMG. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, let's copy over some of them. Oh, there's so much stuff. It's not in here. Run all tests. Run all tests that describe and remove file message. Okay, I guess that's... Is that all of them? Oh, look at that. Okay, so now it's happy? No, it's still not happy. Like iframe protocol, it needs listener function and unsubscribe function. Listener function, where's that coming from? Is that a different place? Where's that coming from? Listener function, yeah. And unsubscribe function. That's a lot of types. So now this one's happy. File resolver protocol. Are you happy? Oops. Protocol request message, result message, and error message. Protocol. Okay, we need all of these. These are also specific to the bundler. Okay, great. So now we have the iframe protocol. Let's see, let's close others. And now we need to move over. Okay, so it has status initializing. We are gonna start it in status, what was it? Loading. And during that, we're gonna have some progress. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so we're not gonna have, we're actually gonna create the iframe for you. So this is gonna be part of, okay. Oh, this makes me scared. Okay, so this is going to be the configure iframe part. Cool. Which we already have. Where are you? Configure iframe. So let's see how we're going to deal with this. Return iframe. Let's see. Configure iframe if, let's see, we're just going to point to iframe. Set location URL into iframe. What is that? Okay, I'm not sure if this should be public, so we're going to make it private for now. Set location URL into iframe. Yeah, so this one's interesting. I think this is like actually setting set URL. Okay, let's keep that public. But why does it have it? It's using the start route, which means that it's like the initial route. So I don't think the environment should be responsible for this. The start route should rather be set by Sandpack React. Like, that doesn't make sense that the environment sets the initial route. It's kind of like the environment shouldn't like write the initial files. It's just environment, and then it's up to the consumer of the environment to like, okay, these are the initial files. This is, let's navigate to the first route, stuff like that. So yeah, let's just comment that out for now. And then we have the iframe protocol. And then instead of, so we're going to say this.disposers add instead. Sandpack message, you get that from your types. And then we have file resolver. We saw that one. So file resolver is over in Sandpack React. Let's move that one. That will be components, Sandpack provider. Where was the file resolver? Yeah, so this is gonna come from, did I actually, yeah, I did copy them out, right? Yeah. Or cut them out. We're not gonna have environment URL there. Okay, so we're gonna look at the types here, and we're gonna put, sorry, that would be in here. Yeah, and then what is a file resolver? File resolver. Okay. Oh, did I remove something now? And then we have another one over here. Sandpack options. Okay, I'm just going to copy that. Sandpack React is going to be a lot simpler after this refactor. That's for sure. So file resolver, let's just export that as well. Didn't I put the, oh, sorry, index. Okay, so now we have a file resolver there. Iframe protocol. Okay, and then we need a file resolver protocol. Again, we're gonna close others, open the original one. What's the file resolver protocol? Oh, look at that. That's also optional. Private. Okay. Why are you complaining? It's because you're never set? Oh, TypeScript is having a hard time. What the hell happened to my types? Restart extension host. I don't have any hover anymore. There we go. That's weird. No, it can't. Wait, what's happening? Oh, there's something very weird going on with my editor. You see this? It's like... this is weird. Anyways, we'll figure that out. So everything's the same here. We have update sandbox. Ooh, sandbox setup. Okay, so first let's just fix this one, this disposers, and this dot options. Yeah. Start status action. Okay, extract error details, done, state. Okay. So status, I think, would be client status. Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. Evaluating running tests, idle, done. Yeah, so we're gonna change this into we have to check though what the current, if this dot status current equals loading, this dot status dot progress, message progress, not message progress. Wait, message client state, wasn't client status a set of strings? Why are you complaining about that? Oh, sorry. So if it's loading, we're gonna shove those. So I guess this dot status equals current loading. Oh yeah, sorry. Progress empty array. Do I actually emit an event when I change the status? I don't think I do that. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is actually going to be, this is wrong. This should be status, and then we should have get status, turn this dot status, and then we should have set status, new status, this dot status equals new status, and then we're gonna, yeah, this is actually how it's gonna should be. Let's fix that for the static one as well. Not sure what I was thinking there. Let's see. So we have status, but this is gonna be ready instead. Cool. Bundler preview. What were we fixing? Yes, so status would now be current ready. Yeah, service worker handshake. Private service worker handshake. Ooh, there's a lot of stuff here. Channel name. I think we have that up here. Where's channel name? Oh, it's coming from the types. I think we should have that here. I'm not sure if we should even export that. Cool. We have update sandbox. We need extract error details. Where is that coming from? Is that a utility? Yeah. Okay, so we need these. Oh, which one do we need? Extract error details, create package JSON, and add package JSON if needed. I have a feeling we need all of these. Okay, but let's extract our details. Let's see. Extract our details. Yeah, no, let's just copy all of them. So these would be specific to the bundler. I don't think we have any utils here. Oh, and now we need Sandpack bundler files and we need dependencies. Sandpack bundler files. Sandpack bundler files. And dependencies. So it's going to be types. Sandpack bundler files. Do we have dependencies here? Dependencies. Oh, that was a simpler one. Okay, so now our utils are happy. This is the runtime. So now we can grab from utils. Handle worker request. We need that one as well. Handle worker request. Okay. Again, I'm just doing this to expose myself to the code. I preview response message. Where's that coming from? I preview. This is also coming from the types. Okay. OMG, there's a lot of stuff happening here. Oh, that's why we need a channel name. Okay. Fair, fair, fair. Channel name. Get files, get transpile, Sandpack bundler file. Get extension, extensions, map. Okay, get files, get transpile files. Get files, get transpiled files. Oh. This.listen. Oh, okay. So this is just a way to talk to the iframe to get the modules, the actual transpiled files. I'm not sure if anyone's actually using that feature. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that you want to look at the transpiled files. Again, I'm like just cutting down on stuff that's not necessarily needed. Yeah, but then we need and package JSON if needed. Oh. Oh, this is interesting. This is get files, and it shouldn't get it from the sandbox setup anymore. It should get it from the file system. So we need to change that. So I think we're gonna drop like to do. Is this really interesting to users? I'm gonna drop that one, and then we're gonna change if no file handle worker. Oh, does it actually modules from manager? Okay, I guess we need that then, because it's not only used external. Okay. So that means we need a way to talk to the iframe, which is what this listen and dispatch is. But I thought I had a different abstraction for that. Yeah, send bundler message. Let's see, dispatch. Okay, let's just add these two. And we're not gonna have like send bundler message. We're actually gonna have not gonna have this one either. We're actually gonna have listener function and subscribe function. Sandpack runtime message. This is Sandpack message now. Cool. Okay, so we need set location URL into iframe. So this is not only used externally, this is also used internally. But what about start route? I find that to be a bit weird. Like so when you refresh, why do we force the URL? Doesn't this set it back to the start route? That's not what you want. That's weird. That is weird. I wanna say that that shouldn't happen. Set location URL into iframe. It's supposed to be intercept refresh. External links inside the iframe will change the location. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen that issue. Oh, so it's when you do a refresh. Oh, and it's the wrong URL. Okay, but if it needs the start route. Okay, let's give it the start route then. Where are the options? So start route, I guess, is a string. And the bundler should now be happy about that. Cool. Nice. And now we have this get extension and extensions map. Oh, do we have them? No. Where's this coming from? Isn't this from the utils? Didn't I add them? Wait, is this a different utils? Oh. Okay. Oh, look at this. We have duplicate types. Okay, so I guess this should also be added to the utils then. Interesting. Oops, what happened there? So that's extension, Angular core. Wow, so much custom. Oh my god. Apollo server. Oh wow. Don't we have package JSON? No, okay. We do have dependencies though. Yeah, so we're not gonna actually review like Sandpack itself, like the bundler and everything. But it's interesting to see it. When it uses get files, we're actually going to use the file system. So it wants to change everything into. Oh, don't we have Sandpack? So Sandpack bundler files is. It needs the code of every file. So we need to read. Okay, we need to bring in all the files, basically. Oh, but we also have depend. Yeah, exactly. So when you're add package JSON if needed. So that means the environment needs to know about the entry and the dependencies and the dev dependencies. Do we have those types here? Entry. Yeah, here they are. And that's going to be part of the environment options, because that's needed by the environment to run. But we're not going to get. So we're going to create files, const files, this.fs. So we need to like go through and read every single file in the file system and create a map of that. And then we need, let's see, so this will be files, dependencies, dependencies. This will be this options.dependencies, this.options.devdependencies, this options.entry, and then this would actually be files. And I wanna try Copilot here, see if it can do it for me. By the way, there was a new GPT 4.1. Yeah, let's try that one. Let's see. We're gonna add the actual type of the, let's add that one. And we're gonna add the actual, well, let's just add the in-memory file system. Okay, so bundler preview, that's the one I'm looking at. In get files of the bundler preview, could you use this fs to read all the files in the file system and create a record where each key is the path and each value is an object of code. Let's see how it does. Enable. Wow, that was fast. What the fuck did it do? Oh, it added it here? Oh, okay. I don't have stat. What the fuck did it do? Okay, that was really bad. Oh, that's really bad. Discard. Okay, that's not what I wanted at all. Okay, I guess we just have to write it. So how do we do this? We need to do a recursive thing. So I guess read all files, this.fs. So let's create a utility for that. Export function. Yeah, and this is actually, so this is going to be interesting because this is async. And I don't think this is async. Oh, it is async. So I can do await. Okay, nice. Where were we? Read all files, fs, and this is going to be a Sandpack file system. Export async function. So we need to have a path here that we're gonna read. So entries will be fs read directory path or directory path. And this is gonna yeah, I think the simplest thing to do here is just files will be Sandpack bundler files. So we're going to read this directory and then we're going to go through each entry, entries for each entry. And then we're just going to return files. So if entry, well, we should parallelize this. So what we can do is promise. So we do await promise.all entries.map. And then we have entry. If entry type equals directory, we're just going to do read all files. Await read all files. Oh, sorry, return read all files. Again, we pass the fs. The directory path now is the existing directory path plus the entry name. Yeah, we're gonna, do we have join? No, we can't use that join. I think we should have some, I think we have it here. No, where do we have join? In memory file system. Is this where I join? Join. Normalize path. This is the one I was looking for. Normalize path. Yeah, we do have. Okay, it's normalized path. Oh, but that's a full path. Don't I actually have? I don't like this. I thought I had a join thing. Because this is directory path plus entry.name. Okay, I think that's fine. But then we're gonna do files. Let's just call it full path equals full path. Full path equals code await fs read file. Full path. Oh yeah, okay, I guess we can do async then. Because this can be, so read file returns a promise of file content. So that, yeah, I guess we have to make that a string. Sandpack bundler files. Yeah, it can only be a string. Fully path. The question is, should we skip files that aren't strings? I guess we should. So if entry, oh, we actually have to read it to, okay. Cons file content. And then if file content type of file content equals string, then we're gonna write to the full path. So we're gonna ignore anything else. Well, I guess we can say code. Cool. Okay, so this is gonna read all files. So in our bundler preview now, utils, that will be slash, and then we have an empty object. Yeah, and then we need to private async await read all files, and that should read. So this is a point of potential issues. Oh yeah, so this is a promise of Sandpack bundler files. Since we changed that, but I wonder why this, oh, has no initializer. Why doesn't it have an initializer? iframe protocol. Where is it initialized? Oh, look at this. Oh, I put that into, oh, okay. This iframe. Okay, so we should configure iframe protocol. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so this is not used anymore. iframe protocol. So where is configure iframe? Here it is. Yeah, we're not done yet. Okay, interesting. So we need to have. Okay, so that's the only thing. And then we have. That's this dot iframe protocol equals this dot configure iframe protocol. That's the iframe, or this dot iframe, I guess. Yeah, no, we can pass in. Okay, let's do this dot iframe. Private configure iframe protocol, iframe HTML iframe element, and then we're gonna return. So this is gonna be const iframe protocol, and we're gonna return that. Wait. Something weird going on here. iframe protocol. Okay. Oh, and does this point to this iframe protocol? Oh, that points to this iframe. Oh, whatever. So we're not gonna do. We're gonna configure the iframe first, and then we can say configure iframe protocol. So we're not gonna have the actual iframe. I wonder why. Oh, interesting. iframe protocol. That's fine. Update sandbox. We're gonna fix that, and then return iframe protocol. Now we have an iframe protocol. I wonder what this file resolver protocol does. Well, okay. Let's see. What are we gonna do? I'm getting hungry. Maybe we should do update update sandbox then. So is initialization complete? Okay. And then sandbox setup. Yeah, and again, it needs to go and grab the files. It needs to read that from normalize. Okay, and then it dispatches into, oh my God. It dispatches into the bundler. Oh, does it need a sandbox ID? Okay, but we're at least gonna have this method. Let's just shove that in here. This dot disposers reach dispose. This is gonna be interesting. Okay, so we don't have sandbox setup here. Do we ever call this when it's not initialized? Yeah, so the interesting thing here is that update sandbox seems to be called related to actually changing the sandbox as well. Like in the sense that you're changing out dependencies and stuff. But I think those should be very explicit things. So if I add a dependency, we have to bring that in here. But it's also inferring them from package.json. So this is kind of old stuff. And I don't think we need this. Modules. Yeah, whatever. Create package.json. And then again, we have the dependencies from the options. Yeah, I don't understand why it needs. Oh, it creates the package.json based on the options. Yeah, so if you don't have a package.json and you still want to manipulate dependencies, yeah. Create error. And then we have this.dispatch. What are you complaining about? Experimental stable service worker ID. Where are you? Oh, wait a minute. So experimental stable are in the type boolean or undefined. Why does it say that it's not the same with the type string or undefined? Oh, what did I do? I clicked something. Oh, weird. But didn't I? Isn't that a string? String. Okay. This is crazy stuff. OMG. Okay, is initialization complete? True. Oh, React Dev Tools. So there should be an option of React Dev Tools as well. React. Where is that coming from? Oh, that's the React Dev Tools mode. Okay, let's put that in there then. So that's also React Dev Tools mode. Bundler preview. Disable dependency processing. Okay, I guess that's also an option. Boolean. And then we have, yeah, and then there's a template here. This experimental template, and this is Sandpack template. Okay. So you can pass in, yeah, because you need to pass in a template, of course. That makes a lot of sense. So that means, but there might be a template. Like, I wonder why all of these are. Oh, is that template ID? Okay. Because this was using Sandpack template. No, it's an actual template. Sandpack template. Okay, let's change that. Template, Sandpack template. Cool. And then, yeah, what else was missing? So this will be options template or get template. Show open in CodeSandbox. Yeah, there's a lot of options here. But anyways, let's just put them in there. Let's see. Okay, let's just go through them so I know about them. Show open in CodeSandbox. Show error screen. Boolean. Show loading screen. Boolean. There's so many options there. Skip eval? What's that? Clear console on first compile. Clear console disabled. Clear console. Okay. I guess that's one also optional. And then log level. Sandpack log level. And then custom npm registries. Okay. Well, it's that one. Oh, that's npm registry. Okay. Custom npm registries. npm registry. And then we have Sandbox ID. I wonder what that's used for. But okay. Sandbox ID string. Yeah, so we need to change this stuff. Okay. So what are we gonna do here? Sandpack preview message. Currently, we only emit URL change and status changes. But was this all of it? Oh, wait. That's why it error. Cool. Oh, look at this. Yeah, and then we have update sandbox. Whoa, we actually got through it, I think. So the interesting thing now for us is that we need to see if this works. OMG. But we need to expose the actual, so the file system is fine, it's the same. But what we can do here, first of all, is that we're gonna add another, we have bundler. Oh yeah, sorry. And then we have case, bundler, return import, clients bundler. Oh, Sandpack bundler environment. Oh, look at me having the wrong name. Sandpack bundler environment. I think this is because property. Yeah, but you're supposed to infer from the type. Oh, it's because I do this. Okay. Yeah, but I think this is fine. But now it's not able to. I think we just have to Sandpack bundler environment options. I wonder why this one works. What does it actually say? Yeah, because now it thinks it's static for some reason. I've seen this before. And I think it's because this is a callback. So if we do static options equals options, and then bundler options equals options. No, it still doesn't understand it. Oh. Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I think it's because, so these options are actual, no. I thought it would be able to infer that. That's weird. Okay, maybe actually the environment options needs to be, oh, the type needs to be, okay. Yeah, no, I've seen this before. Yeah, no, we need to have type and then we need a union instead. So this is just going to be the options.type. And then we're going to pass in the options and the options. Yeah, oh, sorry, this is going to be T. And then Sandpack, this is going to be a type that equals type static. Let's see. And, or it's going to be type bundler with the bundler options. Oh, not key of. There we go. Yeah, now we don't have to throw. Okay, this is better. And this is like internal, so. Cool, so now we have that running. So the thing we are missing now, hopefully, well, I guess we can take a look at this later. Okay, let's try building it. MIMEDB. Oh, we actually need yarn and MIMEDB. Yarn build. Do we actually use it? MIMEDB? Oh, yarn and MIMEDB. Let's see if we can get this running before lunch. Oh yeah. Yeah, so this is interesting. Like, how does it actually... Or I guess update sandbox is the thing we want to call. Yeah, let's try that. Coming soon. Okay, so that's that thing. And then we have... Oh my god, this is scary. So let's just see that it's actually running. Was it 74? 75? 73? Okay, so it's not running anymore. And that is because of what? Oh yeah, sorry. We changed so that's Sandpack React. Yeah, so you need to build, I guess. And then in the playground now, in the dashboard. Yeah, we're gonna have some... Oh, sorry, this will be inside Sandpack React. Where do we do the Sandpack environment? Yeah, so this will be completely wrong. Type static. Wait. Oh, sorry. Does that change it? I think maybe that's all of it. Okay, cool. So it's running in static, and now we're gonna try the bundler mode. So bundler. Oh, does it need to have... Oh, so we're saying that it needs dependencies. Okay, we need to make all the options optional. Source, clients, bundler, index. So everything needs to be optional. Is this bundler mode? Was that bundler mode? Sandpack environment. Where is Sandpack provide? Sorry, Sandpack environment. That was the bundler mode. It was actually showing something. I'm gonna just build it again to be sure. No, it's not showing anything. But that's also because we have, I guess, the wrong... Oh, okay. That's one thing. So we actually need to have a valid template here. Let's see. Maybe we should introduce... You know what? I need some food first. So we are going to... I'm gonna eat. And then we are gonna change from template to sandbox. And then we're gonna pass in like the actual... write the logic for choosing an environment. So that we can like move between static and bundler. And then we are gonna be good. And what did we actually land on here? So we landed on this thing being a type of template or sandbox or VM session. And then when it's a template, we can choose the environment for the actual template. So if it's like a static template or whatever. Yeah. Okay. And then maybe we can play around with the actions, because the cool thing I want to get to is like actually loading up a sandbox. That's going to be a big moment. Okay, but that's it for now. And yeah, and like maybe I haven't been very clear about why I'm doing these streams. it's not for, it's for me. It's definitely for me. I just work much better when I talk out loud, and I feel like I'm like working with someone when I'm streaming. So maybe it's not like very informative or educational even, or definitely not very entertaining. But yeah, again, I'm doing it because this is how I work most productively. So yeah, I'm gonna fire up a stream again after lunch, and then we'll see where we end up. Okay, bye for now.